In the glittering heart of Manhattan, where billionaires moved like phantoms through glass towers and success was measured in headlines and holdings, lived Ethan Montgomery, a man whose intellect had revolutionized tech and whose fortune overflowed beyond comprehension, yet whose soul remained shackled by a pain no innovation could cure, because 2 years ago, a distracted drunk driver stole from him the one thing money could never replace. His son's smile. Oliver had been 7 then, energetic, curious, a golden boy who loved running through the park and playing soccer until the accident rendered him paralyzed from the waist down, stripping the light from his eyes and leaving Ethan, once hailed as a genius savior of the digital world, utterly helpless in the real one, as specialist after specialist offered hope, then disappointment, and Ethan, who could buy cities, found himself praying each night like a man with nothing, begging for just one miracle. And on a gray December morning, as sleet dusted the sidewalks and a lonely hush wrapped around Central Park, Ethan wheeled Oliver through the trees, desperate to give him even a sliver of joy, unaware that fate was about to answer in the most unexpected form, a girl, no older than 10, barefoot on the frostbitten grass, playing a battered violin beneath a half-dead tree, her clothes too thin for winter, her hair a tangle of brown curls that danced in the cold wind, and her eyes, ancient, like they had seen every sorrow the world had to offer, and Oliver, who hadn't spoken more than 10 words that day, stared transfixed as she played, her melody raw and aching, as if she were pouring all the grief of the city into a single, trembling bowstroke. Ethan barely noticed until Oliver's wheelchair began to edge closer on its own, his small hands moving the wheels with purpose, drawn to her music like a lifeline, and when she saw him, the girl lowered her instrument and walked to him with gentle steps, crouching beside him and asking, "Do they hurt?" Oliver shook his head and said, "They just don't work anymore," to which she replied, not with pity but with quiet certainty, "Sometimes things stop working because they forget what they're made for, sometimes they need to hear their own story again," and lifting her violin, she played a new melody, soft, like a forgotten lullaby, but with an undertone of strength that made the air around them shimmer. And as the final note faded, Oliver gasped, his foot twitching, toes curling slightly, and when he looked up at his father with tears in his eyes and whispered, "Daddy, I felt that," Ethan's world cracked open, and he dropped to his knees, stunned, as the girl looked at them both and pointed toward a back alley behind the park where her makeshift bed, a blanket and broken cardboard, lay hidden, and when Ethan asked her name, she just said, "Maya," and though her words were few, her music had spoken volumes, so he brought her home, told himself it was just for one night to keep her safe, but that night became a week, and the week became a month, because Maya wasn't just a miracle, she was a mirror to everything Ethan had forgotten, humility, connection, and the kind of healing that can't be bought. Each morning, she played for Oliver, and each day his body remembered more. Wiggles turned into leg lifts, braces into careful steps, and soon, the house once steeped in silence echoed with laughter and music, and Ethan, long buried under deadlines and damage, began to smile again, not the polite one for investors, but the one that lived in his eyes as he watched his son rise, first on crutches, then without, and as Maya flourished in their care, it became clear she wasn't just talented, she was gifted, a violin prodigy with a heart full of stories and a soul that sang through strings, and though Ethan offered her anything, new clothes, a sparkling violin, private tutors, she clung to her old instrument and the coat with holes in the sleeves, saying, "I don't want to forget where I came from." There are still kids out there who need someone to hear them, and it was in that moment Ethan realized that while he had once built apps to change the world, Maya was changing it with nothing but truth, so he created the Maya Foundation, a program for homeless and abandoned children with artistic gifts, giving them food, shelter, education, and most importantly, someone to believe in them, and to launch it. He held a grand gala in the Plaza Hotel where CEOs, actors, and philanthropists packed the ballroom in gowns and tuxedos, expecting luxury, but instead, they got Maya and Oliver, walking side by side onto the stage, the boy who was once silent now standing tall, and the girl who had nothing commanding a room of the world's elite with a violin as her voice, playing a piece that made even hardened bankers cry, music that told a story of pain and hope, of loss and redemption, and midway through, Oliver took the mic and said, "I used to think I'd never walk again. But then I met someone who showed me that even in the coldest places, music can spark life," and as the room erupted in applause, Maya stood quietly, just smiling, her eyes soft, not needing praise because her gift had already done what no $1 billion ever could, heal a family and awaken a movement, and from that night, the Maya Foundation became a national beacon, opening centers in cities across America, offering more than shelter. Offering voice, purpose, and light to children long forgotten, and though Maya was offered record deals and magazine covers, she declined most, choosing instead to play in shelters, in hospitals, on street corners where children listened with wide eyes and open hearts, and through the years, Ethan became not just her guardian, but her father in every way that mattered, and Oliver not just a boy who walked again, but one who danced, learned to play beside her, and later spoke at conferences about the power of unseen kindness, while on the wall of their home hung a single framed photo, a barefoot girl with a violin, a billionaire with his hand on her shoulder, and a smiling boy who had learned to walk again, not through medicine, but through music, not by miracles of science, but by one small act of compassion from someone the world had dismissed, and in that image lived a truth greater than any headline. That sometimes the smallest hands carry the strongest hearts, and the ones with nothing left to give are the very ones who change everything.